Hi, everyone. Welcome to the second session of Excel. We're going to be looking at more essential stuff on Excel today. Like we're going to be working with a lot of data, how to filter data, how to define names. We're going to be working with charts. We're going to create some charts. We're going to create pivot tables, pivot charts. We're going to look at more functions, how you can further analyze data, and some other bits and bob. So let's start with charts, actually. So charts are quite useful. You know, like when you have a presentation to do and you want to present data in visual form. So you can actually use a chart to tell the story rather than putting a whole load of numbers together. There are different types of charts in Excel. And if you look at my tax bar here, you see examples of charts. You can open up the box here. That's because I haven't created it. I haven't selected a data. So I'm going to be using this data. So this is a simple data for ABC company. They have 4 regions. So this is their sales total for January, February, and March for their 4 regions, North, South, East, and West. So we have a presentation and we want to present this. We want to compare, because when you put it in a visual form, you can actually see the differences between the data. So the first thing we would insert a column chart. And to insert a column chart, you have to select the data you want. So I've selected the data I want. On my column, I have the regions. On my row, I have the months. So I just need the region and the months, not the total. And then I go to my chart function here. I can open this up to see all my charts. And the first one we want to insert is the column chart, all charts. So I've got the column chart here. There are different options. So let's look at this one. Let's click this one and OK. And then insert your chart. You can always drag your chart to wherever you want it to be. And that's just by clicking it, holding your left mouse button down and dragging to wherever you want it to be. So this is what a column chart looks like. You can see clearly from this chart that in January, the South made more sales. In February, the West made more sales. And in March, the West made more sales. And this is something you can't easily see when you have a lot of data. But when you present data in charts, then you can easily see the story. So this is a column chart. We can, once you click on the chart, you have different options of charts, and you can pick any one to suit what you're doing. Once you put your cursor on it, you will see the charts changing. So once I move it along, you see my charts changing to different types. So you can actually pick the type you want even before selecting it. So you see what it looks like. And there are quite a number of them. So you actually see what it looks like before you select it. I'll leave the simple one. And if you have questions, please type them in and I will take questions as we go along. So that's a column chart. We can insert a line chart and it's basically the same. Select your data, go to your insert, click on that drop down arrow that brings up the dialog box. I'll go to all charts, line charts. So let's look at a line chart now. We can look at different options. So we have different options. Let's look at this one. Okay. And then I'll just move it to the side. So this is my line chart. And once you click on any of these items, you can see that this blue is January. So you have this box here that shows you what the colors represent. And one thing you can do with charts is you can change it, you can change the colors. So you can pick a different color group. Let's see. So you have different options here. Let's look at our charts box. You can pick a different color group. For instance, if your company, if you have like specific color groups that you use, or you want it to match like maybe the company logo or your business logo, you can change the colors here. So if you select it, if you go to change colors, so anytime you click on your chart, you come up with a chart design option. And there is an option here, change colors. But the thing with changing the colors is the colors come in groups. So you have to pick like a group of colors. For instance, if you want to pick the gray ones, then you're going to have to pick that group of colors. Let's pick something a bit more colorful, or maybe that's all blue, all yellow. So I'll take it back to the multicolored one. So it defaults to that multicolor, and then you can change the color scheme as you go along. So this is a line chart. And one thing you can do with this is you can change the title. So I can click on this chart title and type in sales in the first quarter, for instance. So in the first quarter, my number lock, first quarter. So you can change that. And we can do a pie chart. Let's do a pie chart. Let's do a pie chart with this. Data, no, insert, charts, all charts. Let's look at pie. Let's look at pie. We have a pie chart, which is mainly looks like a pie, just cut out in different ways. So that there's some data that this is actually really good for, you know, when you just like want to like show percentages. And you can change this, let's go to chart design, to bring out the ones with the percentages. So you can actually see the percentages here. And you can split the chart out. So you can choose another design. Let's change it. Okay, so you can get the color here as well. If you're using a different version of Excel, sometimes your functions might be in different places, but it's basically the same. You always find the dialog box that you'll be able to change your functions. So the Excel today is more recent than the one I used yesterday. And another type of chart that we can, and also if you like put in a pie chart and you want to change it, you can change the chart type and chart design, quick layouts. Okay, yeah, change chart type is here. So you can change the chart type from here. So if you go here, you can easily convert that to maybe a bar chart, for instance. So this is a bar chart, and you can pick different ones. I'll undo that. And another type of chart that you can also create is what you call a pie of a pie or a bar of a pie. And what this is used for is if you want to highlight a particular section of your data, I would go to insert, go to all charts. Under pie, there is this pie of a pie. And what it does, it picks a section and expands it. And we can change this to have like percentages. So what is done is this last 15%, this 15% is split it out into different areas. We can also have a bar of a pie, which is just slightly different. Select the data, insert, and we've got this. Which gives us a bar from a pie. So the main things you have to do in creating a chart is select the right data and go to insert and pick the charts you want to create. Let's see another one. Insert. I think we created a bar chart, which is the. So these are charts. And if you want to, you can move your chart. There are some options there, what you can do to your chart. So for instance, you can switch the row and column. If you look at this chart here, so I have the month on the row, this is the y-axis, and I have the amount on the x-axis. You can do this, if you click on this, switch row, and then you can see that it's switched to the areas for the y-axis, and I've got the amount on the x-axis. So I can switch. I can click here if I want to change my data. So I want to change my data. Okay. And I have changed my data. So that's my data. So before I had only January. Now I've added February to this. So you can always click on select data to change your data. So once you click on select data, you can see it would outline the data you're actually picking for the chart. So if you're not sure, you actually see the data and you have this outline around it moving to show you what data you're using. I'm going to cancel this. Yeah. And this is basically charts. You can use this plus button beside your chart to add elements to your chart. So let's say if you add axis title, you can type here and just put maybe regions. So I've added titles to it, and axis title, let's see, sales total. So you can click on different elements and add to it. So you can add data label, data table. You already have the legend, which is this. You can add grid lines. It already has grid lines. So that's basically charts. With the pie of a pie and the bar of a, can the second part be directed to pick specific part, or is it auto-selected? I would check that. I think it might be, let's see. Let's see if it's auto-selected. I'll have to check that. I think it's auto-selected. I'm thinking there should be a way to actually move it. If we, I'll be surprised if there's no way to like change the selection. I'll actually check that and get back. So this is charts. So if we go to data now, like filtering data, analyzing data, I'm going to use a table. Let's see. So I've got this table. This is from the bike skateboard, like a sports shop. And what we have is we have so these are salespeople. So we have basically data probably downloaded from the system. You have sales date, order ID, you have products, you have units sold, you have the sales figure, you have the names of the salespeople, and you have the region. And so I picked this data because it's about 117, 115 rows. And what we want to do is you have this raw data. The first thing you want to do, you have different salespeople. You want to see how many, for instance, how many skateboards did Davis sell? First thing you want to do with this data is apply filters to it so that you can filter this data. And the way to apply filter is you can either select all the data. Once you select all the data, click on data and filter. And once you filter, you can see what appeared here. I have arrows down. And what these arrows do is they can actually be used to filter. You can use it to sort your data. You can use it to select some specific items in this data. So I want to know how many sales Davis has made. So I can just click on the first name and filter by Davis. So once I click on the first name, I unselect all. So it would default to select all. So I will unselect all and then select Davis and OK. And it will filter this data based on my selection, which is just Davis. So I know that Davis sold a skateboard, two skateboards, two items of skateboard for Davis, snowboard. I've got 3 items of bike for Davis. Sharon wants me to email the data so we can practice. Yes, I can email the data, but just as a disclaimer, this is not my data. It was just something I downloaded to show as an example. So it's not my data. But I think I just got it off Google or something. So I can definitely email the data. If you provide your email address, please. Okay, so I can clear this filter. And then I go back to my original data. I can select someone else. Let's select Andrews, for instance, and that's okay. So I have Andrews. And if I don't want names, I want to see how many bikes I have in this data. You can select bike. And even by clicking on this data here, I can see that I only have 3 items. So I only have bikes, I only have skateboards and snowboards. So I know I only have 3 items. Maybe I only sell 3 items in the shop, or maybe this data only covers these 3 items. You want to see skateboard, that is skateboard. Clear filter. And one other thing you can use this filter to do, you can use it to sort. If, for instance, I want to sort by product. Product is a name, so it would default to sort A to Z or Z to A. So I can either sort it A to Z, and you can see that it will sort, well, it will start with a bike, because bike is B, skateboard, and snowboard. If I don't want that sort, I can always undo it. But when it sorts, it will sort the old data. So everything will still be aligned. As long as you have the filters on, then it will still be aligned. If I want to sort units, for instance, once I'm sorting a column with numbers, it already knows that these are numbers. So it's going to ask you if you want to sort from smallest to largest or largest to smallest. And that is because it has already recognized this as numbers. In some cases, it might not if it's written as text. Okay. And then it would not, if it's formatted as text, it would not recognize this as numbers. If you look at the date here, if we want to sort this, it already recognizes this field as dates. So it will ask you if you want to sort from oldest to newest or newest to oldest, because it recognizes those characters as dates. And if you remember, when we were filtering, we were just looking at one at a time, you know. You can also look at two people at a time. You can select your data just the way you want it. There's no limit to how you can select your data. A smarter way of analyzing this data is to put it in a pivot table. So when you put this data in a pivot table, it's like you're summarizing the data. So we have so to put this in a pivot, what a pivot does is like a chart. But what it does is it would collapse, it will summarize your data. So for instance, depending on how you want it, it would add all the bikes together, add all the skateboards together, or it might add all the salespeople together, or add it by region. You have the power to determine how you want your pivot to look. And to create a pivot with this data, the first thing you have to do for a pivot is you select the data. So I'm going to select my data, select everything I want to put on the pivot, and that is everything. So I've selected everything down, and then I will go to insert, and then visualize the first element here, pivot table. So I click on pivot table. It comes up with a dialog box, and if you look at this range here, this is where my table range is. So it's already picked my table range based on my selection. And then it's going to ask me, where do I want to put these pivots? Do I want to put it in a new worksheet or existing worksheet? If you click a new worksheet, then it will create another worksheet for us. It will just create a new tab. But I don't want this on a new worksheet. I want to see it. I want to put it beside this table. So I'll just click existing worksheet, and then I have to specify a location. So I'm just going to click here. If you just put it beside it for me, and okay. So I've got this pivot table, and it comes as a blank. So this is a template for your pivot table. And then you have to choose how you want your pivot table to look. So for instance, maybe I'm in HR, and I want to see how my salespeople are performing. As in, what are they really bringing in? So what I'm interested in is how much money my salespeople have made. Okay, so I want to create this pivot to reflect that. So my salespeople, I have them on column first name, which is column F. So if I click on this, it puts that on the row, or I can just drag it down to the row. And then I'm interested in the sales for this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 salespeople. Maybe I want to give bonuses based on their sales, or maybe I want to promote some people based on the number of sales. So I'll just put the sales under values. And what I have is, I can see that Andrew brought in a total of 20,300. Let's format this. So we have, it's easier to read. I'm just going to put comma in it. So I can see that Andrew brought in 20,300. Let me just pull this down there. Benson 47,800. I can see from here that one Park brought in the highest amount, 194. But I'm only looking at this because it's such a small table. What if it's a big pivot? I can sort this by the sum of sales. So the same way we applied the filter to this table, I would select just from a cell beside, and then data, it's not allowing me to filter. Okay, why does it do this? Let me change the pivots table options, display, classic. Okay. So I don't know why it does this sometimes. So it is not letting me filter. Okay, it's not letting me filter for some reason. So from here, I can see that, Park had the highest sales, followed by Maury and then Selby. If on the other hand, I'm not interested in sales per staff, for instance, I'm just looking at the total company and saying, I want to see what product we sell more of so that we can do more of that. I can easily change this. So instead of putting the name, I can just take that off, unselect that, and put the product to see what product we sell more of. And I can see from here that we sell more of bike, and then followed by skateboard, and followed by snowboard. If I'm interested in region, for instance, I might be interested in the regions where they sell this product so that I know that when I buy more of bikes, this is the shop I'm going to put it in because bikes tend to sell more in that area. I can add region to this table. So I've added region to this. And then I have the region first, then I have sold by the regions. I can turn this around as well and just put the products before the region to see which one sells better. So I can just drag that around. I'm going to undo that and do it again. So I did it in this my pivot table field. One other way to do it is I can select this product. I can just move it to before region. And then I know, so it's easier to see based on products. So I can see that in bike, I sell more in Atlantic. And for my skateboard, I sell more in the Pacific. I'm just gonna format that. And then my snowboard for some reason sells a lot more in Southwest region. So if I want to buy more of snowboard, I know that I have to channel that to Southwest region, and skateboard to Pacific, and my bike to Pacific as well, or Atlantic. They're very similar. So this is basically a pivot table, and you can chop it and dice it the way you want. If, for instance, now I want to add in my salespeople, I want to see what region they are selling more. I can just add in salespeople, and then I have all of them. So I have them all here. If, for instance, I just want to see what region they sell more in, I can take off the product. If I take off the product, and then I know I can take off the product. I can move the first name around. So if I move it around, so I know Andrews sells more in Southwest, Benson sells more in Pacific, and David sells more in Southwest. So a pivot table can do so many things for you, and it's so easy to change. So you can move things around just the way you want it. And one other thing you can add to a pivot table, let me see, you can also add a pivot chart to a pivot table. So let's make this simple. Pivot table field list. About regions, and let's add a pivot chart. So let's pivot table. pivot chart. So let me just put a pie chart here. So this is my pie chart. So I can actually put a pie chart beside the pivot table, and then it will show you the same thing as you're seeing on your pivot table. So it would summarize it the same way. I will delete this off. One other thing you can use to, one thing with pivot tables is you cannot change any part of a pivot table. So for instance, if I want to change this, I want to override this to Texas, for instance. Well, this keeps changing because normally it doesn't let you change, but this lets me change. That's weird. Okay, you learn new things every day. I guess it depends on the version. Let's see. Okay, so I'm trying to change the total, but it won't let me change it because it's just based on this data. But normally, even the region, I don't know why it allowed me to change that. Okay. And if you notice, I keep my field list, I close it because I couldn't see the screen. But if you want to get back to the field list where you select your data, all you need to do is go back to your pivot table tools and go to field list. And you have this field list by the side. Sales back. If you have a long pivot, you can also insert something you call the slicer. And what this does, it helps you, like, it would help you filter your pivot table. So like when I was trying to like put a filter on the pivot table, I can use the slicer for that. So this is my slicer. So all you need to do is click on your slicer and it would ask you, a slicer is, it wants to know how you want to cut and dice it, which is filter basically. So if I want to like, I want to filter by probably first name, okay? And this is my slicer beside. Some older versions don't have slicers, so you might not see it in yours if you're using an older version of Excel. And what I want to do, I want to filter, so I can use this to filter. And that's Andrew. So one is highlighted, you have your filter on that. Gavin, Park. So if it's like a long, let's put the product here, so it's longer. And Maury. If you want to select two, all you need to do is hold your control button down and just click on your selection. And then you can, select the way you want. And then that clears the selection and you have select all. And then you can unselect just anyhow you want it. Okay. So this is essentially a pivot table. Let's look at some functions in Excel. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete this. Okay. So if you look at this table, when you work with data in Excel, it's always good to put the data in a table format because it helps you do some things faster than if you have it in a plain format like this. So I can convert this data into a table format. I'm sure once I do, you would have seen this format. So if I click on this, if I select it, I'll click on table. And it's asking me where the data for that's the data for my table, and okay. And what it's basically done is it has recognized this data as a table that you might want to do like different elements with. So the advantages to having tables is sometimes when you want to when you type in formulas on tables, it would recognize that it's more intelligent to what you want to do. So it would do it for you all the way down. So let's start by, what should we add here? Let's start by maybe travel costs. So I've got travel costs here. Did you see how it automatically joined it to the data and to the table? So what I want to try, or probably let me do profit. Maybe that will sound better. That's profit. So I want to say that out of these sales of 4,800, maybe our profit on bike is 10%. So I want to calculate the profit on the bike. So you will put equal to, click on that, times 0.1, which is 10%. And then it comes up with this dialog box to ask you if that is what you want to do all the way down. And then I just clicked it, I'll undo that. So that is equal to this multiplied by 10%. And then you have this box asking you if that is what you want to do. So I'm saying, yeah, that is what I want to do all the way down, override the cells. And that is what you have. Okay, I'll do the formula again. I'm going to undo this. So this is just an hypothetical example. I want to calculate 10% on my sales. So I want 10% of this 4,800, which we know is 480. So all I need to do is put an equal to, click on the cell, and multiply it by 0.1. Or if you don't know how to do that, I can put my 10% here, for instance. I'll first format as percentage, put this as 10. So that's 10%. I will do equal to sales times this. And I'm going to freeze that cell, enter. And then I have my 10% here. And then I can overwrite all the cells down. So what it's done is it has calculated 10% on this sales value all the way down to the bottom of the table. So those are the advantages of tables. You know, if you create like a column in between, so if I type in another column and say, maybe travel costs, and then I'm saying for in Southwest, maybe travel cost is £20. I haven't put in any formula, so it's not going to, if you haven't put in a formula, it's not going to know that you're doing anything. But if you once you put it in the form of a formula, if you remember yesterday, you want to type in a formula, you start with equal to. And once I put equal to 20, it comes up with this box. And then I can fill it all the way down. If that's not what I want to do, then I don't take that option. So those are the advantages of having a table, apart from the fact that it also changes the color, the format. And in the formatting, so we've got page layout, where is it? Yeah, table tools. So I've got table tools here. So I can change the color scheme anywhere I want. So you might want to like match it to something else, and then you can always change the colors. So that's formatting as a table. Looking through. Okay. And using this table again, let's see. I want to show some formula. A simple formula. Okay, so in terms of Excel, we have this formula bar, tax bar here, and you have different formulas. You have logical, you have text functions, you have date and time, you have lookup functions, you have math, you have so many formulas that you can use here to actually manage your data. So for instance, let's use, I'm just going to go back to my, okay. I'm just going back to my simple data. So logical functions. Logical functions. Trying to see the best one to use. Let's look at this. So for logical functions, you have something like if, you have and, you have is. So for instance, I might have a data that says if so I have this data here. I'm going to delete this. I have a name, I have color of eyes, I have color of hair. So I want to ignore the fact that this is just a small data. I want to count, I think we should use the other one actually. Let's use this one. So I have bike here. So I want to say, like for the bikes I have on this data, I want this to count that if the product is bike, give me the number of units beside the bike. This is not going to be perfect because I have a lot of bikes here. So I would say equal to if, open a bracket, if this is equal to, this is not the best example. This is not the best example, but let's do it. Is equal to bike. If that C3 is equal to bike, I want this bike here. So that means if it's yes, if it's equal to bike, put 1, otherwise make it 0. So I'm going to open the function, and the best, I think an easier way to do it is actually to look at the function itself and open a dialog box. So equal to, if I go to logical, I can pick if here. And what that does, it opens the function argument for me. So what it's saying is, if this is this, if that statement that you have made is true, do this. If it's false, do this. So this is just a random example. I'm saying, so what I'm saying is, if this cell, if it's equal to bike, if you look at the side, it says true because it's already checked and it knows that that is bike. So I'm saying if that is bike, if it's true, value is true. If it's true that that is bike, put 2 there. And if it's not a bike, return 0. And okay. And because it's a bike, I have 2 here. And if it's not a bike, it will return 0. So for instance, if we put something else here, like a pen, that will change to 0 because it's looking for bike and you can't see bike. So it will return 0. So that's if. There is the AND function, and what you use AND to do is you can use it to join stuff together. So equal to, let's open the AND. And what you use AND to do, so for the if, we use it to test the one function, one logic, that if this is this, return this. If it's not, return 0. What AND would do is you can put different logics together. So you have logical 1 and logical 2. So if let's see, this equals to and this equals to 0. So you can continue to like put your logic together, and then you get a true or a false. And you build this into other formula as well. So you don't use it in isolation. You can either build it. So if this is bike and this is Andrews, then do this. So you can actually use it to build the formula on, but it might be a little bit more advanced. In terms of formatting, text functions. If we look at text functions, and we have some text functions that you can like use to join text together. There is a function called concatenate. And what this does is you can use to join the data from one cell to the other. So for instance, I want to create the data here. I only have first name here. Let's assume I have last name. And I have, this is Andrew Simon, Mark. And I want a column that would join the first and the last name. So I want first and last name here. So I want to join Andrews and Simon. I want to put them all in the same column. So I can use the concatenate function or the ampersand key on my keyboard. And the way you do it is equal to concatenate, open a bracket, click on the first cell you want to join, comma, click on the second cell, and you can continue on like that. So I'll close the bracket and enter. So I have Andrew Simon here. But look at this, I need to like separate the first name and the last name. So this is not looking right. So what I can do, I can go in between here and put a space. So I would put the quote, space it, put another quote, space it, and enter. And I've put a space in between. So if you click on it, you can see the formula there. And you can join these. Let's join this to region, for instance. I'll put another space, comma, region, enter. And I have Andrew Simon, Southwest. So concatenate will add stuff together. Another way of doing this same thing, if you don't want to type in concatenate, is to use the ampersand key. And that will be equal to, if you click the first name, use the ampersand, put in your space, the ampersand, and last name, and enter. And I have Andrew Till, joining these two together. So that's another way of doing it. Right, left, okay, just a second. So I have my last name, I have my first name. I'm going to copy and paste the value. So what I just did was I removed the formula. So that's you copy and paste value to remove the formula. So if, for instance, I have a data that has this, and I want to put this in separate columns. So I want to separate out the first name and the last name. And I can use, what I can use is the text to column function. And what that does is it looks at your column and it will separate the data based on what the function you have put in. So I have Andrew Simon, for instance, and I want his first name and his last name separately. I can click on this or select the column, click on text to column. It comes up with this wizard. I'm gonna put that to the side. And so I'm just gonna, so we can see. I'll select this, text to column. This is my data here. So I want to split this data. And the way I want to split it, what I can see between them is a space. So I would delimit it. And then you go to next, and it's going to ask you how you want to split it. So I want to use the space to split it. You can see, clicking the space, you can see that it's already split it. And then I'd go to next. This is where you specify where you want it. It would default to the cell next to it. If you don't want it, then you click where you want this data to be, and then you finish. And then what it has done is it has split Andrews and Simon. If it's a comma between, you might have a data that is a comma, you know, there's some data that they put the first name, the last name, they put a comma, and they put the first name. So what you do, I'm going to undo that. So for instance, I have these names like this, and I want to delimit this. I want to split it out. What I can do, select it, text to column, go to next, and what I want to use to delimit is a comma. So I'll click on my comma. That is what I want to use to split it. And I can do next and finish, or just finish. And then it will do that for me. So you look at what is common to them, and then use that to delimit, as in use that to like split the data. If, for instance, you have data and it's like Mr. Oh, let me just undo this instead of typing it again. So this is Mr. Andrew Simon. This is Mr. Andrew Steele. So I only want the name. I don't want this Mr. here. I want to take off the Misters totally. So I can put a formula in to just look at anything after that Mr. But I can use like a write formula to do that. So to do that, it will be equal to write. So when you use the write formula, what write does is you're saying count the characters from the right. There is the left formula and there is the mid. So what write does is you're going to put where you want the characters to be counted from, and then you're saying count from the right up to this place. So write, click on the text. If we want to just remove, we want to just bring out Simon. Simon is 5. So I'm saying count from the right, Simon 5. So what it would do is from the right, it will count 5 characters. So I've said right, count 5 characters, and just give me what you have there. If it's left, I would say equal to left. If I click on the text, I want to bring out the master. I'll click on the text, comma, just count 2 characters for me. And then I have Mr. here. If on the other hand, I want characters in the middle, I can use the mid function. And what the mid would ask you is where you want the count to start and where you want it to stop. So it would be equal to mid, open a bracket, click on the cell. So I want to say start from, let's assume I want to remove the Mr. from this cell. So start from 3, character 3, and count, I can put 15, it doesn't matter. And then I have Andrew Simon. I've removed the Mr. from there. Let me see, there is a lot. I think we fit a lot into this, but I am going to have to stop now the chat. Thank you for attending, and see you next time.